Hey YouTube, we are in the desert outside of Las Vegas with this Polaris Razor 900, and we are going to show you around the Valley of Fire and surrounding areas of Las Vegas while we have it. So enjoy. Hey YouTube, so this is the second video in the series that we have in the Logandale Valley of Fire area. This is basically an hour outside of the Las Vegas area, and we have that razor that you saw at the little beginning clip, and we are simply exploring the area. And believe it or not, Kimberly's actually driving, and it took a while for me to figure out like why she was driving. And when I asked her, basically it ended up being that she didn't want to hold the camera. So basically, what I've learned is if I ever want her to drive, I need to make sure that I do not have a camera mount. And obviously, the footage that you're looking at right here is the forward-facing camera that's actually mounted on the ATV. We have footage from me hand-holding the camera too, but it's a little bit shaky. So this is the southern part of the Logandale Trail System. So if you open up a map or whatever and looked at the map, you would see that we are traveling essentially from Overton, which is the southeast side of the Logandale Trail System, and we are headed in a westerly direction. So the first waypoint that we have is a crushed car that we're looking for, and the crushed car will be on the left-hand side when we get there. And essentially they gave us these different waypoints to look for, but we also have a GPS with us. So the speed indicator at the bottom is our current speed, and I sped up the video a little bit just so it would be a little bit quicker. And um, for the most part, what I noticed was when Kimberly was driving, we were mostly going somewhere between like 10 to 15 miles per hour, and then it seemed like when I was driving, we were mostly going 20 to 25 miles per hour. I don't really know the top end speed for Razor 900, and I don't actually know if they put limiters on these or not. I know that some of the razors and stuff, like they have limiters and that kind of stuff that limit your speed. But for her driving, I guess she was comfortable in the Razor around like 15 miles per hour, and for me, I felt kind of comfortable around 25 miles per hour. But it really depended on the terrain that you're in, and the speed that we're traveling is actually a lot faster than in Jeeps. Normally, when you're in Jeeps, when you're doing like trail rides and stuff, you're normally more like around like the 5 mile per hour range. You're not normally, up, words of like 25 miles per hour on any trails. Although, when you look at these trails are much more flatter than the trails that normally would be rock crawling at like AOAA, Roush Creek, or anywhere in Pennsylvania. But with that said, I mean, when you actually look, there's a lot of blind turns, and there are quite a few spots that are narrow. They did tell us all about the tortoises that are out here, and apparently you can get fined $50,000 if you like touch a tortoise. So like basically you do everything in your power to avoid tortoises. But at the same time, they also said that because this was the middle of winter, there shouldn't be any tortoises out here. The other thing that's like really quite interesting out here is they were saying that since this is all BLM land and it's like Nevada Rangers controlled land, they couldn't really put any signs out. I think that they had a couple signs out for a while, like trying to help people out with where to go, and the Rangers either took them down or the locals took them down and used them as firewood. So it's not like Roush Creek where they have like signs everywhere. Like that turn that we made there, like the left turn, he actually told us like specifically make sure you make that left turn, don't make that right turn and go up the mountain. Apparently going up the mountain like that is a lot more difficult, but it's also a big shortcut that would have cut out a large section of the ride. And he said that normally that other route is what they use to get to people pretty quickly if they want to like shortcut the trail system. And obviously we're out here to explore and see the different types of rocks and stuff, and see just a different terrain, because obviously this is really, really, really significantly different than the terrain in Pennsylvania where we normally go out. The other thing to keep in mind, is we're supposed to stay on the trail as much as possible. Um, they were saying like the rangers can get upset if you drive over bushes or do anything kind of like harmful to the land. So once again, just like everywhere else, you want to use the tread lightly philosophy. And then the other thing that he was always saying was a lot of these bank turns and kind of like blind turns, because you notice like you can't really see like what's around the corner. He was always saying like make sure you stay on the right hand side as much as you can. But you see here, even though we're in a little 60-inch side by side, I think it's about 65 inches wide. There really isn't room to even get two side by sides through here without somebody going off the trail. So obviously in the big flatter areas it's much safer, but it was kind of unusual, when you're going up here around these like blind corners, not knowing whether or not there'd be somebody on the other side that you go through. It was interesting that a lot of this is crowned, and a lot of this is actually really quite tight and narrow. I don't think I would really want to take my Jeep back here, even if I had it back here through a lot of the sections. Now, last year, 2 years ago, we were out here with our Jeep, with a Jeep, and we had a Jeep that was ridiculous. I think it had like 45-inch tires or 44. I mean, I have 40s on my Jeep, and it had bigger tires than like what I have. I mean, it was ridiculous. And we were in the northern part of the Logandale system that you'll get to see in a later video, and we were actually up on the rocks, and that was really quite interesting. But this is a totally different thing. This is exploring on a razor, so obviously the wheels are much smaller and it's much more agile and a little bit quicker to get around. And the total loop that we're going to go through is somewhere around 40 miles. I don't remember the exact distance that they said, but there are 200 miles of trails within Logandale that are here. So, I don't know the total distance of trails at like AOA. Like if you were to go and measure like all the trails and try to cumulatively add them together, um, there's obviously a lot of trails at AOA. Um, but it's really kind of hard to say comparatively, like which one's bigger. But they're both like ridiculously big, and they're both completely different types of terrain. So this is the first waypoint right here, and this is a crushed car, believe it or not, on the left. And that was the first waypoint that we were supposed to look for to make sure that we were going in the right direction. So obviously we stopped to take a look at it and make sure that we were going in the right direction. So we are still headed in a westerly direction along the southern part of the Logandale Trail system, and we are headed toward the Valley of Fire. And this video will basically end like right at the entrance to the Valley of Fire, and that's where you see like all the really nice fancy red rocks that look more like the classic Arizona colors. It's not that you don't see like the desert looking rocks here. I mean, you can obviously tell that we're in the desert. You just don't have the like the popping like red colors that you see like you saw like on the entrance video that we had. And we will get there. It just there's all this other kind of cool stuff that we're seeing along the way. Now, when you rent one of these from the place, um, they have like a bunch of rules, and as far as I know, there's no helmet rule like in the Nevada area, so helmets are like optional here. But we all chose to have our helmets, not only for safety but also because this was the middle of the winter, so it was a little bit chilly, and having a helmet on actually made it so it was a little bit warmer. So that was like the main reason that we wanted to have helmets on. But obviously, for safety too, it's always a good idea to have a helmet on when you're in open air. And there was no front windshield. We did come to the conclusion after renting one of these that unlike Windrock, at Windrock we actually had a front windshield. We definitely would want to have a front windshield if we owned a Razor or something similar to it. But with that said, I can say that at Windrock it was a huge pain in the ass to have the front windshield because I was in the mud and it was raining out, and I kept having to clean the front windshield like over and over and over and over again. But it was also nice to have that windbreaker in front of you, because it is kind of a little bit different to be riding around with no glass in front of you. Where in Jeeps, like your normal, almost all Jeeps typically have like some form of glass in front of you, and you don't have like just open air, just like kind of like jetting in your face. Now he did say that the temperatures vary. Like obviously, if you're out here in the summertime, it gets ridiculously hot, and they always like want you to bring a ton of water with you. If you're out here in the wintertime, like we were here, you actually want to have a little bit of a heavier jacket on, because like it's just a little bit chilly. I think it was maybe in the 50s when we were out here, so it wasn't like ridiculously cold. But I can tell you that, like, if you're going like 15, 20 miles per hour with like constant wind hitting you, and it's like in that temperature range, it's actually a little bit cool, without having like jackets and gloves on and stuff. And fortunately I had gloves, but I don't think anybody else with us had any gloves. I should have said something to them. But anyway, you just want to keep that in mind. Like, look at the temperature. Like, if you come out here and rent one of these, because the temperature makes a difference. The other thing that they're saying is they said that it can get very dusty out here. However, they also did say that because this was a wintertime, it wasn't going to be too terribly dusty. And I'm not 100% sure how like the temperature, like the difference between say 50 degrees and like 70 degrees, like adjusts like and makes it more dusty or less dusty. Maybe somebody in the comments can explain to me why like it's more dusty like when it's hotter out than when it's colder, because I mean it wasn't like the ground wasn't like frozen or anything like that, but they also said that there was no really dust issues either currently, because it was in the winter months. So we are still like headed west. Like yes, like really seriously, like this place is like that big, and we are headed to the Valley of Fire to see all like the big fancy red rocks. And you can basically go right up to the red rocks and like touch them and stuff. Not that you should be touching rocks, I guess, but you could hypothetically go up there and touch the side of the rock if you really wanted to and everything. There are Indian petrographs and stuff that we're gonna be able to see also, but you're not supposed to obviously touch those because those are like historic things. But anyway, so this is like Logandale, and what's like also really interested about this trail system is it's 200 miles of trail, but we're only going to be going through like a 40 mile loop, and within that 40 miles there's red rocks, there's this train that we're on right here, there's a little bit of mountainous terrain, there's sand dunes, so the terrain like really like varies a whole lot in all the different sections um, of this trail that we're going to be on. So it's not like it's all like exactly the same desert, and you can see the kind of like the reddish um, rock faces kind of coming up on us because we're getting ready to enter the Valley of Fire, which will be the main topic of like the next video. And you can see like slowly but surely like the ground is turning from like being like the grayish color to like the more reddish color, and it'll become more and more red. So there is some, traffic coming the other way, obviously, and everybody seemed like really courteous and everything. And so a couple of those were, it looked like Polaris's, and then the front one was, I believe it was a Can-Am Maverick. The Mavericks are more like lowriders, so to speak. Maybe that's not even the right term, but you sit more in them, like more like a sports car, where like the Polaris is like the one that we have. You sit a lot more upright, more like you're in a Jeep. I guess it's like the difference is like if you're in like a Jeep versus a Corvette. The Mavericks are more like dune buggy, so to speak, where the Razors are a little bit more kind of like Jeeps. So the next video will be the Valley of Fire. The Valley of Fire is like this big red rock area that we'll include in the next video. and that will be like the main topic of the next video. So obviously we are exploring the Logandale Trail System, and please like and subscribe. Thank you.